Are we going to be
Sorry.
audio and video or just audio? I'm just
It'll
wondering
just be
how
audio. Yeah.
so I can drink coffee if I need to.
Oh yeah, definitely
Okay,
drink
great.
coffee. Yeah. No,
If
this
you
is a
need to.
Yeah,
just
which is
If.
yeah, great. Thank you.
I know it's pretty early for you guys. I appreciate you jumping
Yeah.
on at
Not at all.
ungodly hour of 9:45.
Oh no, actually we're
No,
East
we're
Coast.
East Coast time.
Oh, you're East Coast. I'm East Coast as
Yes.
Yeah.
well. All right.
Where are you
Doesn't mean
from?
I slept well, but no, it's
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially after the time change. My God.
yeah. Time
Oof.
change with kids. That should be illegal.
Where
Oh,
is where's home for you?
Detroit.
Oh,
Oh,
crazy.
great.
Yeah.
Nice.
How about you guys?
We're outside of DC in Virginia,
Oh,
Northern
okay,
So
Virginia.
cool.
I'm
Yeah.
just across the river in Arlington. He's a little further south.
Oh, very nice. So yeah, this is all pre-recorded. I edit. So if you start to speak over each other or you say something wrong, just say it again. I'll make sure that you sound great.
Bless
That's
you.
perfect.
All right, terrific. Well, I am so curious, because you guys have been working now for well over 15 years. Can you tell me a little bit more how you kind of got into filmmaking and what that process was like for you?
Oh, that's on me.
Hmm.
Okay. We were both comedy nerds growing up, right? We watched a lot of British comedy. We tried our hand at some really terrible sketches when we were little. Somewhere out there's a cassette tape that we made of like a Star Wars parody that I just hope never sees the light of day. And then went to college, James Madison University here in Virginia. And I started doing theater. I did a lot of theater, including a sketch comedy show that I put on in the student theater. And then when we got out of college, at different times, but both of us ended up working at a public access television station. Um, and I knew how theater lights worked, so I basically knew how TV lights worked already, and got hired. And with that came a key to get into the building after hours. And so all of my, improv comedy friends from college and from DC, we would go in the middle of the night and make silly videos for something called Channel 101, which was started in LA by Dan Harmon and Rob Schraub. There was a Channel 101 in New York as well. And the idea was to make 10-minute or 5-minute television shows. And so we had a couple of series on that. And eventually, we had kids, we had families, but we decided that we need to up our game and be better at this than we were. We did some 48-hour film festivals. We did very well with those. And we kind of stumbled into a couple of short films that we shot in LA with an actual crew. For the first time, we had an actual crew. It wasn't just us holding the boom poles. Um, and we kind of got hooked. MPI Original Films saw our first short and signed us up to do another one, which was called A Piece of Cake, which had a very good festival run during the pandemic. So lots of Zoom festival calls. But it did well enough. It opened Tribeca Shorts program, and they gave us MPI Original Films gave us another shot to make a feature. Here we are.
So those improv friends of yours, would they populate things like Defenders of Stan?
Oh yeah, that's all of them. I mean,
Nice.
those are my college buddies. 90% of the people in that were my college friends.
And the other
So
10% were my friends.
That's true. Who had a sweet Galactus costume.
True. Yeah.
So
when you guys are working on stuff, I know that you're credited as both writers and directors, but how do you divvy up the work?
Poorly.
poorly.
Yeah. Wow. Uh, we tend to essentially write the same things. So we will talk a lot. We will outline. Once we come up with an outline, we sort of know how the story is going to proceed. We'll then separate, go to our offices. Each of us will write the script separately, and then we will come together and trade the scripts with a highlighter, and we will highlight everything on the other person's script that we found funny or that we particularly liked and enjoyed, and then we'll trade again. So now I have my script back, and with a different color, I'll highlight everything brilliant that I thought Austin missed, and then we'll just discuss it. And depending on impending due date, or just how close the scripts are, we may do that multiple times. And that's what happened with a Piece of Cake. And that's what happened with this film, with Pinball. We wrote full scripts. 100, 120 page scripts and individually, and then discussed and switched things out. It's a great, it's a inefficient process, but it's really helpful in the sense that if I get stuck on a scene, I just don't like it. It seems boilerplate. I'm just not excited about it. I'll quickly write something so I can finish it, but I'll move on and I won't think too hard about it and beat myself up too much over it, because I'm going to cross my fingers that Austin has figured it out. And 99% of the time, one of us has an in that the other one says, yep, that's good, that's great, let's go with that. And if we don't, then we just know we need to work on and we'll discuss it more. So
Yeah, it's rare that we have those moments where nothing is working for a particular scene, but when that happens, I think you have to sort of re-examine your priors, go back to your treatment and say, what went wrong here that we couldn't figure this part out?
Now, you two are brothers. Do you have any other siblings?
We do. We have a successful older brother, which is a great thing to have when you tell your parents that you want to make movies for a living.
Yeah, I was wondering how they took the news.
Yeah. Alex is the oldest of the three. He is a neurologist down in Atlanta, National Merit Scholar. He had paid to go to medical school. I mean, he's great, right? He's the sibling you need to have if you want to go do wacky make 'em ups on your own time.
So, Piece of Cake, all about little silver balls. You make a movie about pinball, which also focuses on a little silver ball. As you're making Piece of Cake, where you're just like, oh, we should just take this a step further, eliminate the number of balls and go down to a bigger one.
We joke that because we can't really remember where we first heard about pinball being illegal, where we first heard that Roger, learned about Roger proving that it was a game of skill and not chance. It was one factoid on a long Google Doc that Austin and I share, full of embryonic story ideas that we'll dip into occasionally. And however, we think that perhaps we were at some time during a Piece of Cake, we Googled illegal silver balls, and that picture of Roger that we sort of ape in the film, but that picture of Roger in the city council hearing playing pinball with scowling city council members.
I can't endorse doing that Google search, though.
No,
I don't think that's a good idea for folks.
But that may be where we came up with it. But yeah, we're looking for a third. If anyone has a third illegal silver ball story idea, we need to finish the trilogy. So our DMs are open.
Yeah, I was so surprised when I read about the actual storyline of pinball and was just delighted by the film. You guys did an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit more about, like, when did you actually, reach out to Roger Sharp? How was that whole thing? I mean, I want to hear that story.
It was fall of 2020. Sorry, it was February of 2020. We were looking for another project or just another idea, something to do. This is around the time that Tribeca was, a Piece of Cake was supposed to premiere at Tribeca. So we were just hoping to have an answer to the what's next question. And I saw the bit on the Google Doc and I cold emailed Roger. I found his email and I just emailed him and asked if he wouldn't mind jumping on the phone with me just to talk. I had read a little bit about the shot into the pinball world. Roger's shot where he calls a shot in front of the city council chambers. That's pretty well known in the pinball community, but we're not pinball people. So this was sort of new to us. But I read that story and I thought maybe there was something there, but I just wanted to feel him out, talk with him. We got on the phone and we ended up talking for about 3 hours. He's a talker. I'm a talker. And by the time this was over, I contacted Austin and I said, I think this might be a feature. And that's because he told me all of the other things that hadn't been written about that weren't part of the shot, about him meeting a single mother, about his time at GQ, writing the pinball book, meeting the people that, as part of the pinball book research, that created the game, literally created the game. I mean, it's fascinating. And all of that and some of the great stories that he told, it felt more universal than just a movie about pinball. And that was important to us because we wanted something that would appeal to pinball fans, absolutely something they could embrace, but also something that you didn't need to know anything about pinball to enjoy.
So do you have to put together like a presentation for MPI and come in and say, we're going to do a movie all about pinball? And what was that reaction like?
I mean, the funny thing is that when we were first approached by MPI to, for a follow-up, they were asking for ideas, but they specified no period pieces and no biopics. So of course we included this on our list, on our short list, and I think over time, they found that to be the most compelling one.
Yeah, I mean, what a what a steep hill to climb for your first feature by making
Yeah.
this a period piece, by just having the scope of this project. I mean, how did you end up putting this all together? I mean, what was your approach to it? And also, I'm so curious with this interesting way that you guys are talking about your writing. I mean, what different avenues were you going down?
I think the original script didn't the original again because he and I had created these different scripts and just talking through and using the device of having a modern day Roger Sharp be a part of the movie and be able to sort of critique and talk back to the director. We enjoyed that. So that was pretty early on. The original script didn't change that much from the first draft to what you see on screen. It was trimmed and a couple characters were changed, partially for budget reasons. Locations were pared down for budget reasons. I mean, there are things and compromises that you must make in order to make a film a reality, especially on a tier zero budget like this. But thankfully, we were always amazed at the cast and the crew and just what all this everything that came together. This is easily the biggest thing we've ever created, with the biggest budget we've ever created. Still, it's a low budget movie, indie film. Like, I understand that on the grand scheme of things, it's small, but to us, it's huge. And so we never felt like we were making any compromises on that front. If anything, felt super humbled to have all of these amazing people and resources at our disposal, and really can't thank the cast or the crew or MPI Original Films enough for producing this.
It may be a low budget film, but it doesn't look like a low budget film. It looks fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about your crew, your DP? I mean, how was that relationship?
Sure. John Kang was our DP. We had another DP that we had worked with on the short who couldn't sign on for this one, and so we sort of went searching based on recommendations that other people had. And I'll say it, John was the only DP whose headshot has him smiling. Right? Every other DP is very serious and staring. And we kept on saying, it was a mantra on this film, we're making a pinball movie. If we're not having fun making a pinball movie, then we're doing something wrong. And so that struck out immediately. The way that he uses those little subtle camera moves, the footage that we saw from him was incredible. We got on a Zoom, and was just such a great guy, just such a happy, fun guy. Yeah, he was phenomenal. And he knew that as first-time directors, we were going to lean on him for a lot of moments. But he's still very collaborative, and it was great.
You talked about how you were, preparing for things in February of 2020, and I seem to remember that there was something that happened in March of 2020 that might have affected you and your scheduling. I mean, yeah, how did COVID affect the film?
In a way, it kind of helped because everyone was locked down, and that's when we first got started talking to Roger. So, once a week or a couple times a week, even, we would sit down on a Zoom with Roger for a few hours and just talk about things that were going on and hone down on certain aspects. We had Zooms with Roger and with his wife and with his kids and with James Hamilton and his sister. I mean, we're actually in a uniquely fortunate position that everyone was stuck at home and that we could say, hey, can you jump on a Zoom call? So we spent the vast majority of that year talking and writing. So there wasn't much else we could have been doing anyway. The timing was somewhat fortunate.
When did you actually do the shoot?
Oh, you're making me
It-
do math now.
no, it's
That would have been
Oc-
October of
October.
2021.
Yeah, October 2021.
Yeah.
21-day shoot.
Oh, wow. Again, it doesn't look like a 21-day shoot. This movie looks so good. And I mean, you must have shot this all in New York. Obviously, you're not doing like the back lot.
No,
Uh,
no backlots for us. We were shooting in the Hudson Valley. We work with Choice as the on the ground production team. So we were in Newburgh and Poughkeepsie, that area. And we learned while we were there that just across the river from Newburgh, in a town called Beacon, there was a barcade that also had to deal with a pinball ban on the books when they first tried to open up.
So
They
what
had
was
a
the
they
shoot? Oh, sorry.
Nope, please.
I was just going to ask, what was the shoot like for you? How was it?
I mean, constant stress, but also wonderful.
yeah.
I mean, it's hard to complain, when you're on set in this, on these wonderful locations, or even these built sets, and there's just this huge team of people working to achieve this common goal. It was pretty fantastic. We had such an amazing casting crew. Like, I can't speak highly enough of the people that we brought in. um I mean, I know the cast had fun. One of the great moments, of course, we relied heavily on the pinball community to source a lot of those old machines. So there were times when we had, 20, 30 machines on set. And so you break for lunch and suddenly you hear these things fire up and people are playing games in between shots. It was great. We had a good time.
Yeah, I would say it was a lot like being a part of a very stressful summer camp. There's a lot of fun, but you've also, there are things you need to do and accomplish. But I agree with Austin. We made a lot of great friends, and I think that, of all the things, many things we can take away from this, that's some of the friendships we built is high on that list.
I mean, you could have pushed this a little too far, and the whole movie could have felt like a Funny or Die skit, like Roger's accent could have been thicker, there could have been more mugging, these kind of things, but you handled it. I mean, it's a fun movie, but it's not jokey, and it's not a parody film.
Yeah, it
Ah,
definitely shouldn't be. I mean, when you're making, again, these sort of tier zero indie budget films, we set off into each other. You got to get a little weird with it, right? You got to make it interesting. But you don't want to go straight to Wacky Town. It's got to, you've got people for 90 minutes. I think if you go too bizarre, you're going to lose them before that's done.
I'd also say, I mean, there's an alternate title, rolling around, Pinball: A Love Story, and I think that was important to us. That this is in many ways, we're not making fun of pinball. We're not making fun of the people who enjoy pinball. We're not pinball people, but we now care very deeply about that community and the people who made it happen, and not just Roger, but all the other fabulous people we've met. And I think that's, if we had gone too broad, I think it may have run the risk of us looking like we were making fun of a niche community, and that's definitely not what we intended. We wanted instead to create an understanding that everyone I think is involved in some small niche community, and we wanted to show that respect to what they've built. At the same time, again, it's pinball. It better be fun. No one goes to see a pinball movie that's bleak and dark, and yeah. So, but thank you. I think I heard earlier today, I was listening to a filmmaking podcast, and someone said comedy is like a souffle. Like, it should be light and airy, but it's really easy to mess up. And I think that's correct. So getting the tone right and making sure that everyone understands what sort of movie we're making is really important.
Well, to that end, did you guys have a lot of rehearsals for this?
No, not terribly. Just the budget couldn't sustain a large rehearsal process. But we did do a number of Zooms with actors ahead of time, particularly Mike and Crystal, who I think are both excellent part of that. And I just got to give our hats off to Lindsay Weissmuller, our casting director, who just kept putting amazing people in front of us and saying, choose one. And we're thinking, we want to choose all of them. Like, there are too many good people. So no, we didn't have a large rehearsal process, but we did have a lot of time talking with people ahead before they landed on the ground, to sort of give them a sense of what we were trying to do and what we were trying to accomplish.
You mentioned tone, and I think one of the things that helps with tone so much is your score. Your score is terrific. Can you tell me a little bit more about the music?
Rob Barbato, he is fantastic. Something I learned on a piece of cake, and I want to say I love the music on a piece of cake, but I also one of the things that we learned from that process is that you can fall in love with temp tracks. So before we even started shooting, we had hired Rob to create music for the film, and I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted this. I didn't. Well, more importantly, I knew exactly what I didn't want. I didn't want disco. Disco and pinball doesn't feel right to me. The pinball should be a little grittier, a little bit more, upbeat and fun, but not crazy. I didn't want it to be too wacky. And so we sent a few temp tracks his way just to sort of say, here's some reference material, and he started sending us songs while we were shooting, and I got to play some of these songs for cast. Say like, oh, we got some mixes, let's listen. And they were great. I mean, I think probably 80% of the things he sent we ended up like using. I don't think there were many that he created after the film was done. After the film was done, he would play around a little bit more with how instruments came in and out, and added some more to it. But the basic tracks were there and the feeling was there, and I deeply adore the score.
No, it's really good, and like I said, it does help with that tone quite a bit. So, when did you guys have your premiere, and how did it go over?
You can correct me on the actual dates, but I know we premiered at the Hamptons International Film Festival in the fall, which was, fantastic and surreal. We bounced around from there. A lot of times we'd go from one festival straight to another, sort of living out of a suitcase. But if I list them, I'm going to forget some, and that's problematic.
Well, you've got a lot on your website, so people can always check that out.
Yeah, we had a great festival at Heartland that was phenomenal. Picked up an
SCAD,
audience award there.
Savannah
SCAD was a big one.
amazing.
Rain Dance, we were the closing night at Rain Dance, which was just awesome. Being in London, and Mike was able to join us for that one, which was great. I mean, there's been a number of festivals, and it's been a blast, considering our last festival tour with the short was all done via Zoom. This was our first real experience traveling with film, and it's been great.
Did Roger join you on this tour as well?
Yes,
Absolutely. Yes, Roger
Nice.
and Ellen. Sometimes we have more extended versions of his family arrive. We certainly have a lot of his pinball extended family arriving. The support from that community has been fantastic on the circuit as well. In fact, we just recently got back from South Carolina, where we did a screening, because there's still a law on the books in Columbia, South Carolina, that prohibits minors from playing pinball. We met with the minority leader down there, Todd Rutherford, I believe, and we had a screening there, and it was just excellent.
2 screenings, because the first one sold out. The pinball community
That's
really,
true.
really
That's
showed
true.
up for that. And then we all went to Bang Back, and which is a pinball arcade, and proceeded to play there for many hours. And Roger was there.
Roger got to show off.
It's fun to watch. Roger's still an incredibly gifted pinball player. Just truly, truly good. We are terrible. Not even just in comparison, just period. We're just terrible, but it's fun to watch Roger. He's great. So, and it's fun to watch Roger in his element with people, wanting his autograph, and it's great. Yeah, Roger's been a big part of the promo push for this, and it's been nice too, because occasionally we've had film festivals that compete that are on the same day, and sometimes Roger will be able to go to one while we go to another. So he's represented the film solo in a couple festivals and screenings.
It's even better when he's there for the Q&A afterwards, because he gets all kinds of questions that we could not answer.
That's pretty awesome. So what's next for the film? Where's it going to be playing?
It is it'll be released Friday the 17th, tomorrow. So I guess, but by the time this airs, do you know when this might air?
Probably early next week at the
Great.
earliest, yeah.
So it's out.
So at this point, it's out. You can get it on Apple TV and other streaming sites, video on demand, and it will be playing a few theaters across the country. So I would urge everyone to take a look at pinballfilm.com. That's where you'll find the latest news and updates as far as screenings. There are still some festivals that will be playing as well. So take a look. Yeah, that's where you'll find everything.
And what's next for you guys?
Some sleep.
If we're lucky.
Yeah. Not quite sure yet. I'm still looking for our next idea, circling a few options, but don't want to jinx anything. So.
Well, best of luck to you in the future. Again, Pinball is such a great movie. You should really be proud of yourselves, and what a great job that you did. So thank you so much for making this movie.
No,
thank you so much.
All right. Well, Austin, Meredith, thank you so much. And yeah, definitely everybody check out Pinball. And I keep fucking up the subtitle, Pinball, the man who saved the game, or Pinball, a love story, as you put it. Thank you, guys. This was great.
You.
Mike, where can we find